Brisbane Greeters!
Good day, Brisbane. I've been told it's not Brisbane, it's Brisbane. It's such a delight to welcome you all on behalf of India News TV here in Brisbane. And we are very excited to be here at the Convention Center attending the Asia Pacific City Summit and Mayors Forum. And this afternoon, we have got very exciting group of people who, according to me, who has been living in this city for 14 years, are the lifeline of tourism, the way of life here in Brisbane. We have been seeing them everywhere on the streets, always wondering what is their job, what do they do, how do they showcase Brisbane to the larger world. And today we have had this wonderful opportunity, thanks to Lord Mayor Adrian Srina's office, that we have gained access to them. And today we have got two very exciting volunteers from Brisbane Greeters, Blair and Anne-Marie. Hello.
Hello, Ash.
G'day.
Good day, good day. So we are going to talk to them about what is their day-to-day routine, what do they do in terms of showcasing Brisbane, how do they help the tourists when they come to this city, and in general talking about in what way, as we all believe, they are the lifeline of Brisbane tourism. Let's talk to them. Blair, hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
So, Brisbane Greeters, we have seen you all on the streets when we see any bus going and, at places of attraction and so many places. And I've been wondering what basically you all do. So, can you quickly share what is the main role that Brisbane Greeters have here in Brisbane?
Well, in a simple word, we welcome people. And what we've been doing for the last 10 years, and you've been here 14, so you've seen us for a while, our basic role is to go out and welcome people to Brisbane, whether they're local residents, visitors from within the state, or international or interstate visitors. So what our role is, we basically share our knowledge of the city and our love for this place with people. We become your new best friend in town. So as you would take a friend and show them around of your favorite spots in Brisbane and your favorite places to go, that's what we do. We become your new best friend for the afternoon.
Blair, in the preliminary chat with you, you shared some very interesting facts with us. And I must confess, I've been living here for 14 years and I didn't know these facts. Can you share some of those facts with our audience today about Brisbane, please?
Well, that's always one of my challenges. It's easy to show international visitors to the city because they have no context. It's all new to them, and so they're just enjoying seeing it for the first time. But when we take residents and show them the city, one of my challenges is to get them to say exactly what you did. So I've had a success with you already, is to say, I've lived here my whole life, and I never knew that. So some of the stories that we like to tell people is, the name Brisbane, for example, where does that name come from? And it's named after a man, Sir Thomas Brisbane. But one of the unique things about Sir Thomas Brisbane is he was a scientist. He was an astronomer. And so our city is named after a man who was a scientist. And there's only 2 cities in the world named after scientists. Most cities are named after kings and queens and politicians or military people. So Brisbane was an astronomer. Came to Australia in the 1830s, so almost 200 years ago now. And he actually built the first observatory in the Southern Hemisphere to look at the stars in the Southern Hemisphere. So Brisbane, as the governor, he was the one that opened up this area for settlement. And so the city's got named after him. The other city named after a scientist, and you've got that earlier when we asked you.
Darwin.
Darwin, exactly. So Charles Darwin actually came through this area as well. So Darwin and Brisbane are 2 cities, both in Australia, and they're only 2 cities named after scientists. So we're quite proud of our scientific and technical heritage.
And so for the Brisbane Greeters, what does an ordinary busy day look like?
Our greets start usually in the morning, 10 o'clock. They run for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, depending on what we're doing, where we're going. They're basically walking tours. We can start anywhere in the city. Most of them start in the city itself. So we meet our guests, we introduce ourselves. We kind of try to get a feel for what their interests are, and then we start walking and talking, and that's what we do. We can be around the city itself. We may go out to the suburbs. There's some very interesting neighborhoods around Brisbane. We can explore those different precincts. We tell stories. We share our knowledge of that area, which could be everything from good coffee shops, places to go for dinner that night, playgrounds if you have children. So we basically have all that local knowledge. And you've traveled a lot yourself, and you probably have friends that live in other cities. When you go to those cities and you stay with your friend or meet up with your friends, it's the kind of things that they would do with you. So when you have a city where you know someone, the experience of that city is much different. If you go to a city where you don't know anybody and you're left to your own devices, it's a lot harder to get connected and get traction and get going. So again, our role is to become your new best friend for the next couple hours. And we share our knowledge and try to find out your interests.
Well, Blair, that's fascinating, and you've got your beautiful colleague here, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, how has been your experience? For how long have you been associated with the Brisbane Greeters?
I've been there since almost the beginning, and I joined Greeters, like the 100+ Greeters that we have, because I just love my city. I travel a lot, and when I land back in Brisbane, I'm home, and I want to share those sort of experiences. And the great thing about the Brisbane Greeters too is that we are a 100+ group, and each person has their own personality. I have nothing like the historical knowledge of Blair, but he probably isn't as zany and as silly as I am when I take my visitors on greets. And I love public art. So there's a lot of public art, for instance, in Brisbane that is very interactive. I've made people walk through some of the art pieces and they come out the other end and think, wow, I would not have thought of doing that. But the other thing I love about being a greeter is that there is a pride that I feel as a Brisbane greeter in being able to say to people who I take with me on a fun couple of hours that this is a city of worthy, of note, of importance, of joy, with the best people you will meet in the world. And I think that when I go on a greet, I often forget the facts, and I always tell them, I'm not a historian. If you want to know, I can Google it for you, or you Google it yourself, or I'll ask Blair, because he knows everything. But when we finish a greet, invariably it was, I had so much fun. And I didn't know that little artist was there. We have an artist in Brisbane called the Blue Ninja. And it's one of the joys that I have of explaining about the Blue Ninja, and they walk every street. I found it. So that's what I like about being a greeter.
Well, let me pick brains of both of you. Do you remember any interesting guests who came here, or maybe some famous guest who came here, or any interesting experience which you remember as a Brisbane Greeters volunteer?
I had a lovely guest, the Prime Minister of Singapore, during G20. And we organised and we went over and over and over with the police for this 15-minute walk from A to B. And as we were walking, after about 5 minutes, he said, oh, that's really interesting. What's that? So we went on a little detour. And then we did it again. The walk itself took 45 minutes, and I think the secret police were just about to kill me, because every time we took a diversion, it was, oh, quick, they're going down there. But at the end, he turned around and he said to all the people there, Brisbane is a lovely place. I've just seen so many lovely, interesting things. And that will always stay with me. The other one was a greet I did probably 2 weeks ago in New Farm. I live in New Farm, so-called. Be impressed, Blair, with my history. It was the new farm of the colony after the first farm was abandoned. And this couple had come up from Sydney, and they thought, we can't do much, but we'll come for a walk. And they said, we've only got 2 hours. And at 2 hours, oh, we've got a little bit more. 4.5 hours later, I said to them, I think you better get a bus home. So obviously, they enjoyed it, I enjoyed it.
It seems you're doing a wonderful job, they enjoyed your company, and it seems there's more that meets the eye when they start going around. And so any interesting anecdotes or any experience from your memory, Blair?
One of the earlier Greece I did, again, probably 9 or 10 years ago now, was an American fellow who came over with his wife, and his father had served here during World War II. And his father told us the story, told us the story that his dad's best time in his life was when he was in the service here in Brisbane. And his father had never got the chance to come back to Brisbane. So he was sort of fulfilling his father's wish to come back here. And in walking around with him, we were able to discover what division his dad was in and where he had served and so on. And so by the end of a couple hours, I was actually able to take him to the actual school, which was an American hospital during World War II, where his father had been the doctor. And we walked around the school, and he was like, oh, this is exactly as my dad had described it. This fellow's name was Joseph, and he was named after the chapel. And when we went into the chapel in this school, it was a St. Joseph's chapel. And it was a very emotional experience for him to actually find the location of the chapel that he was named after. Totally unexpected. This is, again, a very, very wealthy American. He could probably afford to do any kind of luxury holiday that he wanted to. But to have that personal experience, to actually go back and revisit where his father had been, was invaluable experience to him.
Fantastic.
I would say he was very lucky to have got Blair too.
Absolutely. I would endorse that. I would second that, what Anne-Marie has said. Now, we are all excited about 2032
Absolutely.
Olympics and Paralympics. And so what are your expectations? How do you sort of see the run-up to the 2032, and what are the changes you are expecting?
Busy would be my one word to describe it. I think Brisbane's going to be a very busy, active city. There's lots of stuff going to happen in the preparation for it. Seems like a long way away, 2032, but I think that horizon will close quite quickly. So we're quite excited. It'll be a great opportunity to have the rest of the world share our city. And as Anne-Marie said, it's so nice to share our city with the world. So I think we're very excited about that possibility of meeting so many new people. I think our city is going to change. It will be a line in the sand. There will be Brisbane of the Olympics and onwards, and the Brisbane before the Olympics. And so moving towards that and marching that transition as a local will be really, really exciting to see that. So I think we're very much looking forward to it. The facilities and that will make it great. As we were saying, we're a walking city, and I think you'll find that when you come to Brisbane before the Olympics, hopefully, or during the Olympics, or even after the Olympics, that the connectivity of the city will be fantastic. Just to be able to walk around to all the different venues and to discover the quirky art or discover the history. I think it's going to really put Brisbane on the map.
For me, it's a personal thing because my job is actually to work at Olympics and Commonwealth Games and Paralympics. And when the Olympics was announced, I thought, oh, how lucky am I? I will be an old lady by the time the Olympics come, so I will have my walking stick out there, but I will be the best volunteer you have ever seen. But the thing, having travelled the world with working at Olympics, our city offers the excellence, the sporting excellence and the arenas and all of the infrastructure that all the rest have. But we have Brisbane people. And we have a Brisbane spirit. We have that beautiful blue sky and that feeling of you're in paradise and it's the Olympics. So this will be, I remember at Sydney thinking, this is very different from other formal Olympics. There was a spirit of Australians there. And we will take that spirit of Australia and add it to the spirit of Brisbane and Queensland. And it will be, if Samaranch was here, he would say, it is the best Olympics ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can share your excitement, Anne-Marie, and enthusiasm, in the run-up to 2032, because in 2018, when the Commonwealth Games happened here in Gold Coast, I was one of the volunteers who performed in the opening ceremony.
Oh, fantastic.
So as a part of Gold Coast Dancers, and we have a large group, and we all are excited, and we are saying, hey, don't hang up your shoes yet. No. We have to prepare for 2032. So we all are looking forward to it. But before we go, I want to ask both of you, if a layman and a common person, a new person who has just landed in Brisbane, wants to know about you and how to connect with you and get the tour sorted, so what do they do? Where do they go?
Well, the easiest way, of course, today is with the internet. So you can simply Google Brisbane Greeters, and you can contact our website, book online. You can do it all online. You can actually phone the City Council, and they can step you through that process. So basically, that's the easy way. You can do it ahead of time before you leave home. If you know you're coming to Brisbane and what date you're going to be here, book it online, and you'll get a confirmation, and we'll come and meet you 10 o'clock in the morning at some location in Brisbane, and away we go. So again, all the social medias and the website is probably the easiest way to do it. Greeters is actually part of a worldwide program. So there's greeters in about 200 cities around the world now. So not only can I recommend doing that when you come to Brisbane, obviously, to meet the greeters, but there are greeters in many, many cities. So if you like the idea of the program, do Google greeters and see the list of cities that are available. They're all free. They're all run by volunteers. And again, it's a chance to meet a passionate local. I've done greets in other cities around the world. The program started in New York, and I've done a number of New York greets. And I can highly recommend it as a consumer of a greet. What a great experience it was.
I did it in Chicago.
Yeah, and then giving a greet is also a fantastic experience. So yeah, hop on the computer, social media, or just phone the Brisbane City Council and they can step you through it.
Well, thank you so much, Blair and Anne-Marie. It's been fascinating talking to you, and we hope we see you all grow bigger and bigger and larger, taking people around.
When are you going to come on a greet, Ash?
Yes.
So I've connected today, so very soon I'll be coming with my family
All right,
to
absolutely.
see Brisbane from your eyes.
Absolutely.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share here, when I've been talking to Blair, he has been sharing some very interesting facts. Facts like, do you know that Brisbane also has its own flag? He just shared that Brisbane was named after a scientist, Thomas Brisbane. And these are some of the facts that he shared with me in a few minutes of conversation. And you can imagine the world of information which we have not known, despite living here for so many years, can be shared with us if you go with them. And if they can take the Prime Minister of Singapore around, or a war veteran from America, he can take you all and give you a perspective into Brisbane which you wouldn't have seen before. So please connect with Brisbane Greeters, support them, support Brisbane City Council, support this wonderful city, and let's start preparing towards the 2032 Olympics, and let's make this city and games one of the best ever to take place.
How about we
Thank
give
you all very much.
A Brisbane 2032 cheer.
Brisbane
2032.
Be there.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thanks, Ash.
Thank you.